Before we get started, let me just say, I know this is a topic that's often dismissed or ridiculed, but the more you look into it, the more you realize that the evidence supporting the flat Earth model is compelling. So, let's go through some of the most convincing arguments and see why the Earth is not a spinning globe, but rather a flat stationary plane. First, let's start with the stars, and more specifically, the constellations. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the most fascinating things to me about the night sky is that the constellations have been in the exact same positions for thousands of years. In fact, if you go back and look at ancient star charts, you'll notice that the constellations we see today are almost identical to the ones that were mapped out by the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and many other civilizations long before the idea of a spherical Earth was even conceived. Now think about that for a second. If the Earth were really a spinning ball, rotating on its axis at over 1,000 miles per hour and orbiting the Sun at around 67,000 miles per hour, you'd think that the positions of the stars would change over time, right? After all, we're moving through space at incredible speeds, but no, the stars have remained in the exact same positions in the sky for millennia. That's a huge red flag, and it strongly suggests that the Earth is not moving. It's not a spinning ball, it's a flat, stationary plane. And here's another interesting point. If the Earth were really a spinning globe, we'd also expect to see different constellations at different times of the year from different parts of the world. But that's not what we see. Whether you're standing in the southern hemisphere or the northern hemisphere, you can observe the same constellations, just at different angles, of course. In a globe model, you would think the stars should be significantly different depending on your location, but that's not the case. Moving on to the next point, the horizon. It's something that all of us have observed at some point in our lives, whether it's looking out over the ocean from a tall building or just gazing off into the distance. The horizon always appears perfectly flat. If the Earth were a ball, the horizon should curve downward, especially when you're at higher altitudes. Yet, no matter how high up you go, whether you're in an airplane or standing on a mountaintop, the horizon always remains flat and level with your eyes. You can even check this on a clear day by looking out over the ocean. No curvature, no drop-off, just a perfectly flat line. Another key argument involves water. Water always finds its level, right? That's basic physics. So, if the Earth were really a giant sphere, how do we explain large bodies of water like the oceans staying perfectly level? If the Earth were curved, the water would have to somehow curve with it, but that's not what we observe. The oceans are flat and level from coast to coast, from pole to pole. Water doesn't bend to match the curvature of the Earth. It simply finds its level. This is something you can test for yourself. Take a long, straight object like a board or a laser level and run it across a body of water. You'll notice it stays perfectly level. There's no drop-off for curvature because there isn't any. Now let's talk about gravity, or rather the lack of it. The standard explanation for gravity is that it's a force that pulls objects toward the center of a spherical Earth. But when you really think about it, gravity doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would objects stick to the surface of a spinning ball moving at thousands of miles per hour while water stays perfectly flat and level? The flat Earth model doesn't need gravity to explain why things fall. Instead, the force that keeps everything in place is simply density and buoyancy. Things denser than air fall, and things less dense rise. It's a much simpler and more logical explanation than gravity. And finally, let's address the issue of flight. If the Earth is really spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour, you would think that flight times would be affected by that speed, right? After all, if the Earth is rotating beneath us, then airplanes flying in the opposite direction of the Earth's rotation should have longer flight times, and planes traveling with the Earth's rotation should be faster. But that's not the case. Flight times are exactly what we'd expect if the Earth were flat. Planes don't account for any spin because the Earth isn't spinning. They simply fly along a straight path from one point to another. In conclusion, there's a growing body of evidence that supports the flat Earth model, and it's a perspective that's been around for centuries. The constellations staying in the same place, the flat horizon, the behavior of water, these are all clues pointing to a flat, stationary Earth. We've been taught to believe in the globe model, but when we look at the evidence with an open mind, it becomes clear that the Earth is not a spinning ball, it's flat. So if you found this video interesting, or if you're just starting to question the narrative we've been given, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going because the truth is out there and it's time more people woke up to it.